Well, hello folks, this is Matthew Miller, the Millennial Carrot. Yes, we're here talking about the Clean Car Project, and yes, it's been like probably at least close to 3 months since it began, and we're also going to be talking about are the electric cars even safe? Are they actually even safe? Because that's the thing, that's what we'll be getting to. So let's first start with this here. Yeah, the Clean Car Program Review. The Clean Car Standard and the Clean Car Discount from the central pillar of a range of the government initiative to tackle the transport sector's CO2 emissions, is carbon dioxide emissions level, how to address climate change. The Clean Car Discount focus on influencing vehicle demand, and the Clean Car Standard on influencing the vehicle supply. The Climate Change Prevent Zero Carbon Emissions Act 2019 requires CO2 emissions to be reduced to net zero by 2030. Net zero. Wow. As transport is responsible for 47% of the domestic CO2 in New Zealand, the target cannot be achieved without decarbonizing transportation. Oh man, the Clean Car Standard is the government target that regulates imported to reduce CO2 emissions by of vehicles entering New Zealand to civil standards and targets. The Clean Car The Clean Car Discount encourages buyers demand for low emission vehicles by providing rebates for zero and low emitting light vehicles, and requiring a fee to be paid for high emission vehicles registered in New Zealand for the first time. The Clean Car Discount is based on the CO2 emissions were first registered after April 1st, 2022, with the zero or low emissions may be equalized for rebate, and those with high emissions will incur a fee. Wow. Yeah, they want to tell what car we can drive. That's the thing. They really want to control what kind of car we drive. And I'll be getting to why this is ridiculous. I'll be getting to that soon. And yet the Clean Car Project program passed in Parliament, rebate and fines starting April 1st. No joke, this is from driving news. In New Zealand. Yeah, I do like the look of this. They look good looking, but I'll be getting to that soon enough. I know that father, he's an absolute muppet because he really wants to push. He is pushing the narrative though. Yeah. And we're beginning to that issue here, and yeah, there it is here. I'm beginning to that diagram because that's going to be interesting. There it is right there. They say, oh, if your car's emitting so much CO2, oh, you're going to be paying a lot for the fee. You'll be paying a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Or anything that's 192 grams and above, so that's gonna really mean you'll be paying a lot. But if it's sort of less than that, you might be getting away. But if it's zero emissions like an electric car, or yes, you're getting a rebate, a maximum rebate. Yeah, it's all about getting us into those electric cars. Yeah, of course the green bait will be and of course. They don't mention, oh yeah, they actually did mention the CO2 shortage prevention Range of New Zealand grocers including Tegel Chicken. Cause they closed down the refinery. Yes. There it is here. Yeah, there it is, right here. Yeah, they got Marston, yeah, because they actually trying to, yeah, they actually had closed down the refinery, and we're paying at least $3.20 a litre on petrol gasoline, yeah. Yeah, $3, and which that's about like $2 a litre in US dollars. I'm gonna go here. Yeah, just over $2 a litre in US dollars. Yeah. I'm gonna calculate it. It's about, I'm gonna times 320 times 3.79, because that's how much it is in US gallons, and that's see, that's how much it is in US dollars per gallon. $7.63 a gallon in US dollars. And man, imagine that, like people from USA came to New Zealand. Oh gosh, the petrol is so expensive in New Zealand. We're paying like more than $7 a gallon. Well, back to what we were. Yeah, now. Yeah, James Shaw. Do you know what I'm going to be doing while James Shaw's speaking?
A Cash for Clunkers scheme is part of the government plan to drive down emissions. It's starting with a trial of up to 2,500 cars targeting lower to middle income families. They'll get a financial incentive to shift to low emissions alternatives in exchange for scrapping their old vehicles. And $20 million will also go into a trial where low income New Zealanders can lease a low emissions car. Well, joining us now is the Climate Change Minister, James Shaw. Kia ora, Minister. Can you give us an idea of how this scheme will work?
Well, there are examples of those kind of vehicle exchange programs around the world that we'll be drawing upon. But ultimately, the point of having a trial is to try and get something that works here in Aotearoa and achieves the policy objectives that we're trying to achieve, which is that low-income families who have very few options in terms of their ability to switch to either other modes of transport or to lower emission vehicles are able to do so.
So what's the criteria going to be? So what income bracket will you need to be in? What's the age of the car that you can scrap? How much money will you get?
I think it's too early in too early days to be able to say that at the moment. As I understand it, the final details.
Yeah. They say how old it would be if to scrap the car, because man, I actually drive a Ford Fiesta, and man, I go like, well, since the oil refinery's closed down, do you know the import fuel is not as good, so we're actually getting probably worse gas market. We actually like is 10% less efficient because they closed down the oil refinery.
Because of that haven't yet been decided.
How come?
Well, I'd need to ask the Minister for Transport that. But like I said, I think the important thing is to have a trial and to make sure it works before rolling it out on a larger scale. And
Minister, we did ask the Transport Minister on, and we were told that you were the person to speak to the scheme. So I'm just wondering, why are there no details when you've announced it today?
And man, imagine that if you are on a highway in those bus, and imagine that if your children going to school in those bus. Wow. Man, And not only, and that was from like South China Morning Post, so these were actually in China, so yeah. But not only it happened in China, but also in France, yeah.
Well, like I said, the whole point of having a trial is to work out, the exact form of the program. There have been some examples overseas where this has worked reasonably well, and others where it hasn't worked as well as we'd like. And I would think that we would want to make sure that we get it right before we roll it out in any detail.
Will people still be able to get a rebate on the purchase of a low emissions vehicle as well as the money they get for scrapping their old car?
Well, yes, the idea would be that people would be able to put that towards a number of different options, and that might include another more efficient vehicle that does attract the rebate. It might be to go towards other forms of transport, whether it's public transport or e-bikes and so on.
And so what's going to happen with the old clunkers?
Well, the idea is that they would be scrapped. The whole point here is to... Yeah, he mentioned of e-bikes, where shall be going? Because they say this bus went in flames in a second. Imagine that. You might not even have time to be able to get out on the bus if you're in the back seat. Well, if you're going to be there, man, make sure you're actually in the front seat for sure, because that way you have a high chance of getting out fast. From my point of view, I won't be taking those electric buses at all, because they are really... If I don't see an actual exhaust pipe, man, don't get onto those, or those, unless it's a trolley bus, because they are a lot safer, because they have at least had those electric lights, and they had connected to it though. They drive as they go, and it just draws the electricity from the lines. They are much safer, because these ones are for lithium batteries, and those things are not safe. Well, that's probably enough now. To bring down the emissions from our light vehicle fleet. And so what we want to do is take our kind of oldest, most inefficient, most expensive to run vehicles off the road and to replace them with cleaner alternatives.
So do we have the capability to scrap these cars, especially given that you're going to want it to be a more widespread scheme if it works out?
Yeah, if you think about it, we are actually scrapping old cars all the time. Cars do come to the end of their life, and they generally end up in some form of scrappage. Most of that scrappage at the moment actually gets sent overseas, and in an ideal world, we would actually be using that here, and in particular putting it back into our... Yeah, you see, it's going overseas. And that Tesla just went up in flames. Wow. So cool, Green. And Jane Shaw saying that the cars that get scratched get sent to overseas. But where overseas? That's the question. Because, they want to scratch gasoline cars. Well, those... cars that run on gasoline or petrol and that though, they are easier to recycle, because you can actually melt the steel on that though. You don't have any other parts here. There's probably like electrical parts like computers and electrics. That's something you have to really separate though, so that's something you have to really look into though. Steel manufacturing the end of their life, and they generally end up in some form of scrappage. Most of that scrappage at the moment actually gets sent overseas, and in an ideal world, we would actually be using that here, and in particular putting it back into our
Why doesn't
steel
we
manufacturing
use it?
plant.
Yeah.
Right, so at the moment, Minister, we're exporting our junk when we scrap a car.
Yeah, we are.
And can you guarantee that's not going to happen still if you start scrapping at a higher rate, subsidised by the government?
No, I can't guarantee it. I mean, the reason why it gets exported at the moment is because the international market for second-hand steel pays a price that our own steel mill in New Zealand can't beat. But we are looking at working with them to say, well, how do we actually get to a point in Aotearoa where actually we do recycle all of our own steel here? Because that would actually be the best outcome, not just when it comes to steel from vehicles, but also buildings and kind of other scrap steel that we have as well.
So potentially a scheme that is supposed to advance New Zealand in terms of its greenhouse gas emissions will involve, well, moving our junk offshore. Does that seem fair?
Well, I've just told you that in an ideal world, we would be recycling all of that, and that we're talking to industry about methods to do that. But the point is that we'd be taking these vehicles off the road, scrapping them and replacing them with more efficient vehicles. And that is the outcome that we want.
What is there for people right now? Low-income families who might want to contribute to this, who can't afford to replace their vehicles. What is there right now for them?
Well, I mean, that's why we're setting this scheme up, and also why we're looking at trialling this leasing scheme that I think you mentioned in your intro as well, is that...
Both are pilots, though, Minister, so how far off are they in a scale?
Well, you're talking a couple of years before you're able to roll out a scheme like that across the entire country. And again, I think the whole point of running a pilot is that you're able to make sure that you're actually achieving the outcomes that you want.
What do you reckon the shortfall is going to be between what you are prepared to pay for people to junk their cars and what they're going to have to pay to get a low emissions vehicle? How much money do you reckon people are going to have to come up with still?
Look, I couldn't tell you that, Lisa. I think if you...
But we're talking thousands, aren't we, Minister? For low-income families, thousands and thousands.
Well, the whole point of the social leasing scheme is to try and get that upfront cost down to the point that people aren't seeing it. At the moment in New Zealand, our car market works in a way that people try and spend as little money on the purchase of the vehicle, but then they end up buying a vehicle that has very high running costs. So right now, on average, an electric vehicle has a lower whole of life cost, including the purchase cost and the running cost, than an equivalent petrol vehicle. But of course, because of the way the market works, people aren't able to kind of realise that value. That's the whole point of setting up the trial of the social leasing scheme.
Thank you for your time this evening, Minister. That is the Climate Change Minister, James Shaw, there.
And yet they wanna, so they will actually like, gosh, yeah, that is definitely socialism, people. And gosh, yeah. And one thing what they don't tell you about, yeah, that's one thing what James Shaw and Jacinda Ardern ain't gonna tell you about. The child labour, toxic leak, the price we could be paying for a greener future, yeah. The children, yeah. Digging for cobalt in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where 60% of the world's supply is found. Miners often breathing in cobalt-laden dust, which that can be proven fatal. The battle to start off the Earth's learning climate crisis is during engineers to develop new green technology, wind and solar panel, set to replace coal and gas power stations, while electric cars, special and digital warfare, yet find out why solely are dependent on fossil fuels emerging, so could ease global heating. And truthfully, we're actually going to into a solar movement, into a cooling period. And and to know that our cold oceans are the carbon sinks. Cold ocean, and when the oceans warm, they do release CO2. It's temperature that dries out the CO2, not CO2 drying out temperature. And this is from the Guardian people, and to know that miners, so men, women and children are working without the even most basic protective equipment such as gloves and face masks. Well, they really face us just so they don't breathe in the dust. Well, you're probably breathing your own CO2, but you'd be breathing into something else that's like, could be even harmful though. In Tibet, toxic chemical though, in Tibet. I heard there was something about Tibet, but we might have to try to find the video though. We might have to go lithium mine in Tibet. But first, let's just watch that one here.
And why wouldn't it be? One world is all we have, and our world is at risk. Countries, corporates, and citizens claim to be doing all they can to save the planet from climate change. Green energy is being floated as one of the top solutions. We are replacing coal with hydropower, fossil fuels with solar energy, petrol and diesel cars with electric vehicles. EVs are being pitched as cleaner, greener, and sustainable. But are they? What's clean for the environment may not really be clean. Hidden beneath the shiny exteriors of an EV is a story of blood batteries. These cars drive human rights violations, extreme poverty, and child labor. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. An electric car runs on battery.
And that's what Jane Shaw and Jacinda Ardern and the climate minister ain't going to talk about.
You know that. But do you know what these batteries are made of? Rare metals like lithium and cobalt. Cobalt gives the battery stability and allows it to operate safely. It's a bluish grey colored metal. It is found in the Earth's crust, or what we call crustal rocks. Cobalt has several uses, like in jet turbine generators, tool materials, pigments, and smartphone batteries. But its major use is in lithium-ion batteries. Half of the cobalt produced goes into electric cars. We're talking about 4 to 30 kilos of cobalt per battery. This metal is found all over the world, like in Australia, Canada, China, Cuba, South Africa, the United States, the Philippines, but 70% of the total supply comes from one country, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's zoom into this country. DR Congo is the second largest country in Africa. Its GDP is around $49 billion. Congo is synonymous with conflict, poverty, and corruption. Beneath the country's red earth is the world's largest deposit of cobalt. 92 million people live here. Some 2 million depend on cobalt production. They are called negociants. Cobalt mining in Congo is divided into two categories: industrial or large-scale mining and artisanal or small-scale mining. What's the difference between the two? Artisanal mines are unregulated. Labor laws do not apply here. Neither do safety protocols. These mines produce 20 to 30% of Congo's cobalt. Some 200,000 miners work in these mines. At least 40,000 of them are children, some as young as 6. These children...
Woo! As young as 6 years old. Wow.
Flirt with death daily. They enter vertical tunnels. Most of them are too narrow for adults to enter. Inside, it's like a furnace. The children dig for cobalt under inhuman conditions. Sometimes they have shovels, but mostly they dig with their bare hands. They have no masks, no gloves, no work clothes, and sometimes just 20 minutes worth of oxygen.
Wow.
But these young children go on for hours. After digging, they crush the rocks. They wash them and carry their finds to the market to find a buyer. How much do these children make? Sometimes as little as $1. Cobalt is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is estimated to be worth $13.63 billion by 2027. But this money never reaches the child who is spotting and extracting the metal. In poverty-stricken Congo, even $1 is worth risking one's life. Many die trying to make this money. ABC recently profiled a woman who lost her son to a mine-related accident. The boy was 13 years old. He told his mother
13 years old, lost her son to that. Wow. And that's the price. And that's what James Shaw is supporting. Yet, child labor in the Congo.
he was going to the market to buy coal for her so that she could cook. Instead, the boy went to a cobalt mine to try and earn an extra buck for the house. The mine embankment collapsed. The 13-year-old never returned home. Between 2014 and 2015, at least 80 artisanal miners died in Congo. In
Wow.
2019, an accident killed 43 miners.
Oh,
According to
man.
one estimate, 2,000 illegal miners die in Congo every year. Many suffer permanent.
Wow, 2,000 illegal miners die every year. Wow, and that's probably like same for those who die with alcohol poisoning in New Zealand. Get me wrong if I'm... correct me if I do get that wrong. So, folks, 2,000 legal miners die every year in the Congo. Wow.
Illegal miners die in Congo every year. Many suffer permanent lung damage, skin infection, and life-changing injuries. In 2019, some families from Congo filed a lawsuit. They named companies like Tesla, accused them of aiding and abetting in the death and injury of children. The lawsuit spoke about a child. He was referred to as John Doe 1. John was working as a human mule since the age of 9. He would carry bags after bags of cobalt just for zero.
And man, those bags are like, gosh, they're actually heavy. Man, probably like 20 kilograms, or probably even more than 20 kilograms. Wow. And Troy had to carry those.
$0.75 a day. One day, John fell into a tunnel. Fellow workers dragged him out of it. But they left John alone on the ground. When the child's parents found out about the accident, they rushed to the mining site. It was too late. John was paralyzed. Doctors say he will never be able to walk again. Why do children work in these high-risk mines? Because of poverty and the hope to get out of it. Families in Congo are betting big on cobalt. It's like their crypto. Their chance to make it big. The metal's demand has tripled in the last decade. It is expected to double again by 2035.
Yeah. Wow, and to know that Jacinda Ardern and James are not even gonna talk about it. So I ain't gonna talk about though, and yeah, since I see showing about those fires though, those EV fires though, and there's times that electric vehicles were safe. Yes. And we had the General Motor EV1. Yeah, they were in production from 1996 to 1999. And these were the electric cars. And these batteries were like nickel metal hydride though. And they were probably, I bet they were probably safer than lithium batteries. Because man, I heard those, because they react to like water. They react violently to water, those lithium batteries. And of course, we got the Baker electrics. Yeah, they had lead zinc batteries though, and yeah. Oh, the auto we sold to stop races on Parker Road because there was a general loss of confidence in the safety of the electric vehicles. Yeah, that's when one of the cars lost control, so yeah. Is there gonna be accidents? Of course there probably were accidents way back then. But I never heard them just going in the flame for no reasons. And now I ain't gonna be showing what happens when you do drop a lithium battery in water. And just follow that show. I'm going to be showing you part of the video because this video is pretty long. So if you want to watch the whole of this video, I'll leave a link down below. And this is from T.M.K. And yep. Well, if you haven't found this video in there, well, please don't be offended. I'm just showing it for educational purpose. I'm not going to show it in the whole video because it is long. I'll be leaving a link down below so they can come and watch the whole thing if they choose. Giving the thumbs up.
Alright, here goes. Lithium in a bowl of water. Boom!
And you see that, people? It actually caught fire, and that is in water. See, blue, pink flame, and orange flame, and lots of smoke. Yeah, and that was dropping water. Let's go back again.
Boom! Pink flame and orange flame and lots of smoke. Beautiful, that reacted so quickly too. Woo! And then it popped. Wow, I think that actually started melting the glass on my bowl. Holy cow. Check this out. Like, there is a rough patch here, and it could just be something built up on the surface, but I am pretty sure that started etching down into the glass. Wow, that's crazy. Well, I've got some other batteries already torn open. Oh, that broke the glass. Well, that's exciting. That's not even the part where, oh, there we go. It started.
Yeah, it just, that crack just ripped away. It just broke the glass. And, well, I think that's all I'm going to show you. So, people, if you want to watch the whole video, I'll be having a link down there below. And, yeah, that just shows that if man, imagine that was an electric vehicle and water gets in. Because you know that. With all the batteries, there's so many cells of those batteries. Lots. And man, folks, man, you do not want water getting in those. If you've got lithium, you do not want water getting into it. Because, man, they will start reacting. And that's going to cause either smoke or even a fire. Now let's move on to the next one. And this fire, try to hit it.
So, these batteries aren't that dangerous because they are sturdy enough. Let me teach you how to disassemble them. You should be careful, alright? Maybe put it on the side. Bloody hell! What the heck? Jesus, it became red hot. It resembles melting steel right now. Fancy if this thing blows up in public. Hey, come on you.
Yeah, that.
It is all hissing and red hot.
Let's show you that again.
You should be careful, alright? Maybe put it on the side.
Wow.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and man, gosh, yeah. Yeah, don't forget to share the video. Well, I ain't showing you on camera. I ain't showing you a part of it because it is 8 minutes. It is a long video, though. More views will force to upload. Yeah, well, I actually, and this has got 1 million views, which have reached a lot of people. Man, this is really, electric cars are really dangerous, man. It's not the electric car, it's the battery that's in it, the battery. Because if they get damaged, like, when an electric car goes into a crash, that's what's more likely going to happen. Yeah. Man, if you do own an electric car, mate, you never want to crash it. You never want to crash it. Cause man, if it goes in flight and you're trapped in it, man, your life is over. That's the end of it. Your life is over if you're trapped in the electric car and it bursts into flames. That's it. Yeah, and that will be the end of it. And that's what. And now I'm going to show you the part when someone smashes the phone with the hammer and.
I can't believe he dropped it in the T and it's still working. Sounds good, Michael. What are you doing?
See, he's going to hit him with the phone with the hammer and.
Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
See, produce a lot of smoke. Yeah, that's what we just saw earlier. When the fire just threw a lithium battery, it's like we're dancing like heck though with his rubber band, with his slingshot. And as he was about to hit with the hammer, that's, yeah, like, and it just like, no, not that one. And it just burst into flames. Man, lithium batteries are just not safe because, man, like this fire just hit on his phone, man. That stuff is very dangerous, man. That lithium battery stuff, though. They explode when they damaged in that, though. Or even a short circuit can actually even set that off. Even a short circuit. So now we're gonna go to the. Yeah, I'm gonna be. Yeah, cause oh yeah, those electric cars being left on the ground, yeah. And yes. Yeah, that lasted 7 years because, yeah, they couldn't afford to. Yeah, the forest park and sell all vehicles are in ruins. They are very likely unsellable at present because they are being abandoned in nature. Cars can't degrade quickly and become very difficult and expensive to do something with them. Unfortunately, sites are devoid of their batteries and element, which is very polluted, is left abandoned. Yeah. Man, just hope they manage to get the batteries out because if they were left in, they would like leak in the ground. It's very polluting, and of course those fact checkers like to claim that, say, oh, it's not the battery's fault. Battery lasts forever. No, they don't. The batteries degrade as they age. And the fact checkers, they defend the narrative. They don't defend truth. They defend the narrative, the groupthink narrative. And to get people to not to think. And yet those things here. Because the question is, are the batteries still in those cars? Had they been removed? Because if they hadn't been removed, they'll leak. And I'm going to read what this file says. This is the boneyard near Paris, France, with hundreds of electric power cars. Mind you, these are the only cars used by the city of Paris and not the personal vehicles. And all of them had the same issues. The battery storage cells has given out and need to be replaced. Why not replace them, you ask? With two reasons. First, the battery source costs almost double what the vehicle costs new. Second, no landfill or disposal will allow the batteries to be disposed. So the green fairy-tale electric cars are sitting there with violent loss with the batteries drain toxin to the ground. Yeah, if they're storing the vehicles, yeah, they will be leaching toxin to the ground if they're storing the vehicles. But just hopefully those batteries will be removed. That's the thing, and the question is, are they even recyclable, those batteries? And of course, the firefighters, and this is from NBC News, and they say, yeah, firefighters are not prepared to deal with electric vehicle blaze. Let's watch it.
Fighting climate change means we have to swap combustion engines for electric vehicles. And available data shows that electric vehicles are just as safe. But when electric vehicles catch fire, a report from the National Transportation Safety
And that's what we were addressing before.
Board found that firefighters are not prepared to deal with their batteries, which can burn extremely hot. Departments sometimes extinguish the flames, only to have the battery reignite later on the tow truck. This Dutch fire crew simply
Reunited on the tow truck.
drowned this car in a tank.
It takes the water of just one engine, that's about 500 gallons, to put out a conventional vehicle fire. But it can take anywhere from 4 engines worth to 40 engines worth, 20,000 gallons to put...
That's a lot of water, people. 20,000 gallons, and that's, I think, for every gallon's like about 3 to 4 liters. So, gosh, that's a lot of water, people. That is a lot of water. So, like, probably like more than 50,000 liters. That's like, worth like, that's like, probably 2 big water tanks full. That's a lot just to put out an electric fire car.
Put out an electric vehicle.
We're either going to need a fire hydrant or we're going to be tying up.
And the thing is, with lithium batteries, they react with water.
Multiple engines.
You are cutting off its airflow. But
We asked Captain McGrath to show us why traditional car fires are nothing like an electric vehicle fire. The location of the battery under the car is one problem.
So we're going to be standing back a little bit further so the water can hit the ground and come back up to it.
Car makers told NBC News they have emergency guides for first responders. But if in the future every highway car fire involves an electric vehicle, are we ready?
Sometimes it might have to be that we just let it burn out.
Jacob Ward, NBC News, Ventura, California.
Yeah, let it burn out. That's probably the safest way, just let it burn out. But gotta be sure you gotta protect other vehicles. But what if that other vehicle is also an electric car? Because that'll just be another domino effect. And man, gosh, imagine if they're all electric vehicles. Shoot, that'll create an inferno, yeah. And with buildings nearby, gosh, they'll put that in risk as well. And yeah, and I'll probably bet our firefighters here in New Zealand, do they actually even know anything about electric car fires? Because man, what if we end up getting an electric fire, like if people are like hear an electric car and they face the same scenario? Well, if you happen to be on the highway and the car's about like you're starting to see smoke on your side of the vehicle, man, one thing, just pull over as fast as you can, as fast and safely as you can, and get out of that, man. Get out of the vehicle, because man, the last thing you want to be is in the side of the vehicle. Because man, flames will get hot. It will just burn you alive. And man, electric buses will, man, stay away from them. Because when they go out in flames, if you happen to be at the back seat, man, you probably might not even get out in time. And and why they're so clean that, but man, why they do suppress the inventor? Because there's the inventor that creates the incredible 100 mile per gallon engine using a 200-year-old Stirling technology, and yet certain engines don't. And man, that could actually even make like even gasoline car even more efficient, and or even it can make even power, even like coal-fired power plants more efficient, uses less fuel, but still get a lot of power out of it. And man, this could actually even be used, and it can actually even, yeah, use rubbish as fuel, and it can actually even get power out of it. And this, but the greenies ain't gonna be for it, and because there's ways of making a lot of resources from little. but there's just a lot of suppressed emissions that would have made cars even more economical, more efficient, or even cleaner. Well, folks, from my point of view, I'm afraid so I'm going to be sticking to the gasoline car. Yes, I'm sticking to the gasoline car, petrol driven car. I'm going to be sticking to it. They are safer, and at least they don't burst into flame when somebody would actually crash into me though. I had that happen before to me one time. I have been T-boned before. It's not a pleasant feeling. It's not a pleasant feeling to experience, but man. Imagine that if it was an electric car, because that would be bursting into flame. Because I know a person that actually crashed the car while drunk though, and they got trapped inside. Imagine that was an electric car. It has lithium batteries. That would burst into flames or produce a lot of smoke, and while people that trapped into it, that person will die. That's to let you know that those electric cars with the lithium batteries in it are not safe. Avoid buying those. And of course, they'll be from from mines from the Congos where there's child labour. And who knows, there could be mines from the China and the Tibet regions, and people, folks, I ain't gonna be sticking to my gasoline power car. They are safer, and they may not be clean, but I actually got something that I actually got a Ford Fiesta, and actually it can like run from as little as from 6 to 7 kilometer, 6 to 7 liters every 100 kilometers. I'm not sure that, but that's probably like more than 40 miles per gallon. So, and any further ado, that's all I gotta say for now. This is Matthew Miller